Hello. We're actually going to start today on a bit of a somber note rather than a joking and fun one. Today's episode is dedicated in the memory of Italo Stanley, a member of the Brazilian Magic scene who was a regular watcher of my channel, but who passed away on April 16th. He was being transferred to a hospital in the ambulance. He woke up that morning not feeling well and had a heart attack. And members of the Brazilian Magic scene reached out to me and asked me to say a few kind words, and I was happy to do so. I've met a handful of the members of the Brazilian Magic scene. They gave me some sweet swag at one of the Magic Cons that I was at recently, including some tokens of the beloved community members from down there. And Italo was a big fan of Death and Taxes. So today we're going to be playing Death and Taxes in his memory. Life can be hard sometimes. A lot of people are going through some tough things. I've lost some family members recently. I lost my grandmother a few months back. I lost my mother, I don't know, about 2 years ago now. And for those of you who are also going through your own tough things, I am happy that I can be a little tiny bit of joy or stability in your life. And for those of you going through difficult things, I wish you the best, and I hope things get better. So, how about we play some Magic now, huh? Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com. If you want to see upcoming sets, if you want to understand commander brackets, or if you just want an awesome place to store all, and I mean all, of your deck lists, Moxfield is the place. You can organize all of your decks by folders, and you can even change the views. You like visual, they've got that. You like text, they've got that. Check out my Moxfield Pro Field if you want to see all, and I mean all, of the decks that I've been cooking up. Hello folks, Phil Gallagher, aka ThrabenU here for another Legacy video, and today I am sleeving up blue-white Death and Taxes. We've got something a little bit spicy here. So in recent times, there have been a handful of combo decks that have sort of risen and fallen a little bit. So for example, there was about a week and a half long period where Show and Tell was just incredibly well positioned. And Meddling Mage was starting to see a lot of play as a countermeasure to Show and Tell. Show and Tell is just so good at fighting you on the stack, so you would prefer to fight them with permanents instead. And shutting off Show and Tell as a castable card does so much towards stopping their deck from functioning. But the Blue Splash also gives us access to quite a bit of spice. If our opponent has a sweet creature, no they don't. We're going to take that one. And with the flicker effects that are present in this deck, we can potentially reuse this ability or reset our own Meddling Mage. Lavinia honestly probably sees more vintage play than legacy play these days, but this can be a powerful card, serving as sort of like a Chalice of the Void style card against, say, fast mana like Lotus Petal and Chrome Mox, while also not really allowing your opponent to just Dark Ritual into big, broken, expensive things. And Assimilation Aegis can be a way to get rid of anything temporarily. And who doesn't love a Magus of the Moon? We got a blue one now. As far as the sideboard goes, we will be able to have a mixture of permanent-based hate for combo decks, and then the ability to back that up via counterspells, which can be pretty powerful. Obviously, we've got, weapons drawn aimed fully at Oops All Spells, which is an absolute menace in the current metagame. It's been a few days since I've looked at the numbers. Yes, if we do a 30-day look, Oops All Spells is at the top of the metagame at 7.4%. And if we go to the past 7 days, it's at about 5.5%. So deck is doing well, despite the fact that people are gunning for it. So we'll see how it feels to be playing fair right now. There's a pretty respectable amount of combo in the metagame. Sorry, not of combo, of tempo in the metagame right now, and D&T naturally tends to be pretty good versus tempo decks. So if we're hedging against combo with some of these things like Meddling Mage in game ones, hopefully we end up with an okay win percentage overall. Folks, should you need any Magic cards, please consider checking out my sponsor, TOAMagic.com. They're great. For those of you in my Discord server, I've added TOA Michael there directly. If you have any questions, you can go ahead and ping him. If you have special order needs, feel free to do so. They have absolutely hunted down some unique cards for me in the past, and I have very much appreciated that. Going to MagicCon Vegas, you can place your orders in advance, use promo code ThrabenU, and save 5% on your order. Let's battle. Okay, I think we have a medium power level opening hand here. I have some interaction for an early game creature deck. I can start the game on 2 basics and have a real good thing to do in the early game. My problem here is that if I use this as a surveil land, I become wastelandable, and I also won't have basic planes if I play out Harbinger of the Seas, but I do absolutely need a 3rd land drop in the next 2 draws. So seeing a basic surveilled there, I'm going to kind of assume that my opponent is doing some sort of up the beanstalk style thing, or maybe show and tell, blue-green show and tell. If I get a feel for that this turn, it changes what I do with Flooded Strand. So say my opponent casts a Preordain, and it's like, oh, this is probably show and tell. Okay, so this is not show and tell. This is going to be a mid-range deck, like an up the beanstalk style control deck, which probably has Wasteland, so I'm not going to go for the Surveil land here. Meddling Mage. Okay. I think I'm willing to not play this game turbo, and I'll just throw down a Meddling Mage this turn. I might still just name Swords to Plowshares, even though there's one in graveyard here, because I would like to ride a Stoneforge Mystic and Cauldra to victory. I also think it is valid to name Force of Will there, but I think it's very easy for Swords to Plowshares followed by Force of Will to be really annoying if I do that. This was the other card that I was thinking about naming. Yep. Back down we go. Did not hit my land drop. I think I'm going to continue down this line. Hopefully I attack and kill a Teferi, and then stick a Stoneforge Mystic. Brainstorm's fine. Obviously good. It's better if something like Terminus follows it up. But I am not going to sit there and assume that Terminus is in my opponent's deck. Oh, fuck. Yes, I absolutely don't get to respond with Solitude. Damn it! Okay, show me your deck. In case you're not familiar with the combo, my opponent now gets to go and infinitely target Cephalid Illusionist with Nomad Zincore, and they are going to end this with Dread Return. Yeah, so it was Nadu rather than something like Bant Beans. Okay, is there anything particularly interesting? Not really, it's the stuff that I would expect. So Dread Return, after bringing back a couple of Narcomoebas, ends up killing me. Alright, we'll probably do the Graveyard Hate thing here. I will probably bring in other early interaction. Wrath of the Skies is okay. Consigned to Memory is okay. It's good versus the Thassa's Oracle trigger in particular. This is perhaps not a Gilded Drake matchup. Most of the rest of my cards are at least okay. My opponent can potentially just outweight a Lavinia. Lavinia is cool versus Force of Will. Lavinia is cool versus Dread Return, but my opponent can just get to 4 mana. Or sorry, more specifically 4 lands, and ignore that. Well, no, I guess it's being cast without mana. Never mind, we're good with that. Is Recruiter slow here? Is Flicker Wisp not interactive enough? I can see Flicker Wisp not being interactive enough. Harbinger is fine versus Urza's Saga. This would get me to where I want to go. It's a little light on endgame, but we're making up with that with a lot of interaction. Hopefully that's fine. I have not played Blue-White Death and Taxes in a hot minute. This is fine. It is not quite as interactive in the early game as I would like, but hopefully I wasteland a land, set my opponent back, and then the Meddling Mages and Harbinger of the Seas of the world can do their thing. Land go. Come on, fetch a non-basic. Fetch a non-basic. Oh, yes. So now, unfortunately, I probably have to play Meddling Mage this turn, so I don't just die immediately. So we're going to get 2 basics and go to 18. Do it off of Prismatic Vista. Drop the Meddling Mage. And then pass the turn. That will get wastelanded. This is okay. Fully just into this, though. And in for 2. 17. Cool, no immediate removal spell. That is great for me. Now what? That is a Prismatic Ending. No bueno. Don't make that attack. Just for those of you following along at home, Aphelia punishes that attack so incredibly hard. So I would really like to play Harbinger of the Seas to fuck with my opponent's mana, but I just don't think it's super relevant anymore. I think I'm just going to Assimilation Aegis this turn. I'll do so off of basic, I guess. I'm too afraid of just dying if I don't take this line. Alright, good stuff. Now, if we end up attaching this to a creature later, we can turn our creature into a Nomads, and potentially mill our opponent out if they play a Cephalid Illusionist. There is Memory's Journey to think about. Okay, that's not a basic, that is good for me. All this land, though, is not good for me. Well, there's not too much agency here. Oh, I fucked up. I played Caracas. We are putting this in hand. That mistake gives my opponent a chance to drop a Nadu. I could Caracas it back, but that's still value for my opponent. Cavernon Wizard. There is a Nadu. Yeah, so we are allowing our opponent to draw a card here because of my mistake. They get an extra land drop, which is super relevant here. All right. Yeah. Yeah, so now my opponent gets Brainstorm and Fetch because I made that mistake. That's on me. There's the Fetch. Oh yeah, this is quite bad, because now my opponent just swords it. Massive mistake. There's the Nadu again. I can't really let it sit in play. I have to waste my opponent's mana, but this sucks. Every time my opponent gets one of those bonus land drops, it just gets easier to Nadu again. It's not very good to play out Yorion right now. So I'm just not going to do so and bluff Force of Will. See what my opponent does. Drawing these bonus lands has been rough. Fetch available. There's Nadu. My opponent just shoved it into my Force of Will. C'est la vie. I could blink Assimilation Aegis to try to more permanently answer this. But that gives my opponent back a different combo piece. Fucking hate this. Yep. Alright, please, a relevant spell. That's not particularly good. Alright. Because I currently care about Cephalid Illusionist. Sorry, I currently care about Nadu combo, not Cephalid Illusionist combo. And I'm approaching the point where if my opponent plays Nadu and puts something scary on the stack, I bounce Nadu and they just play it again. I mean, I can eat some stuff from their graveyard, but none of it matters. Sure. Yep. Uh-huh. So now my opponent can play Nadu. And in response to me bouncing, my opponent can get 4 activations. I'm not sitting through that. And I don't have a permanent answer to it. I'm good there. GG's. I hate these Nadu play patterns. Death and Taxes, if memory serves, had a really bad Nadu matchup when I last looked at that data. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com. If you want to see upcoming sets, if you want to understand commander brackets, or if you just want an awesome place to store all, and I mean all, of your deck lists, Moxfield is the place. You can organize all of your decks by folders, and you can even change the views. You like visual, they've got that. You like text, they've got that. Check out my Moxfield Pro Field if you want to see all, and I mean all, of the decks that I've been cooking up. This hand, frankly, just has too much top end. Everything that we're doing here is endgame stuff. Well, we'll go to 5. No mana here. Oh no. Well, on 5 we're keeping, but it's not going to be good. The Gilded Drake with no synergy is not great. The Aether Vial on a Mold of 5 is not great. The Mother of Runes without anything to protect is not great. A land always goes back, I think. And I think I'm going to get rid of the Gilded Drake, having no idea what the matchup is. And I fully absolutely just believe that we have to get lucky to win. We just need banger after banger after banger off the top. And I'm going to do something a little weird here. To high roll, I'm going to play Mother of Runes prior to Aether Vial. A lot of times you want to play Vial first because then the Mother of Runes becomes free. But in this instance, if my opponent does not have a removal spell in their opening hand, I want Mom to be online for the whole game. I don't need to tick Aether Vial up ASAP because I just don't have anything to put in as of right now. So we're trying to do a little build your own luck. What are we playing against? Like an energy deck? An initiative deck? The fetch land is a little weird. So like that rules out a Moon Stompy deck immediately. Is that Shatter Skull? Alright. Float mana, fetch, Chalice. Sure. Active Mom though? Active Mom though. So we're chilling. What's my opponent doing? Like, what's the angle? Some sort of Voice of Victory, Clarion Conqueror type thing? Sure. So in case I am wrong about the Blood Moons, I played out Flooded Strand this turn so that in response to a Blood Moon, I could potentially surveil land. Sorry, in response to a Blood Moon, I could get Basic Island. My opponent has played Chrome Mox immediately, and not done anything with it. Awkward? I think I'm just going to go Marsh Flats and pass. And then this is going to be my Surveil land at end of turn. Sure. Going for the Cauldron. Fetch. I am fine grabbing the basics still, and then surveilling. No. Recruiter's fine. So let's Recruiter, and then we'll find something that answers Cauldron. Flicker Wisp, flickering my Recruiter, getting Solitude, pitching Solitude to source the Plowshares is pretty good. I think I'm going to go that route. Try to get a little more value out of my stuff. The body that's in play matters a lot a little bit later on. I also have lines where I just flicker the Chalice, put it on 0, and Swords to Plowshares the Germ token and move on with my life that way. Another land drop from my opponent. Then here comes a Cauldron. I could save 1 life here if I am willing to tap Mother of Runes, which I don't think I am. Trample here is super relevant. This is very good too. So let's Flicker Wisp. I think I am going to take out the Chalice. We'll give that a little love tap. And I guess there's some things like Felia that could flash in. I guess I don't need to attack with Recruiter. Don't want to accidentally give my opponent bonus value. That's fine. So this is probably a Winota deck. That kind of explains everything else going on here. Now I think I'm ready to start extracting value from this Mother of Runes. I think I'm going to go block here to pro-white with Mom. Swords the Germ token as my short-term answer to this problem. Take 1 damage. Soul Land can end up being a little scary. So now I'll play Stoneforge Mystic. Assimilation Aegis is a way to answer a Cauldron or a Goblin Rabblemaster. My own Cauldron is pretty damn good though, backed by Mom. And since they're not doing anything else, either one of those got grayed out. That was really weird. We'll go ahead and call it there, trying to stay defensive. Opponent might not have a second Surveil land if they didn't fetch there. This is 6 of 7 mana towards a Cauldron. Ooh, that's a problem. Sure. So, Rabbles. I think I'm going to take a small risk here and take these things out. Give protection from red, and just eat those for free. I think every edge matters here if my opponent has the 1 ring coming. Mountain? Oh no. That's very bad. Ember Cleave. Alright, there's some spice over there. We're doing really well for, I think this was a mulligan to 5. I'm debating whether or not I want to use Swords to Plowshares to not let Ember Cleave sneak into play. The trample matters. I think I do this. It's just awkward. This is a game that I don't really want to prolong. Like, I am accruing value faster than my opponent, but they have the 1 ring in play, and that is going to change. I am not going to get to the point where this Yorion is free before this game ends, and if my opponent draws something like a Winota, life's bad. So now equipping Cauldra is fair game. Okay. There were Blood Moons. Most of my things are still going to be castable. But the white stuff, like say Skyclave and Flicker Wisp, are now more difficult to cast. So now we're just going to see my opponent yeet a Goblin into my Cauldra. No big deal. Alright, they're playing another. I'm going to keep ticking both of these up. I want to work both towards larger numbers. Sure. This goes to hand. Now, I can cast this next turn and get a respectable amount of value. I think I'm just holding everything back. I really want to be pressuring my opponent's life total, but I am not the beatdown here. If I attack too much, both these Rabble Masters get to come in, and like my opponent has a Cauldra as well. And if I'm not pressuring my opponent's life total, that means this one ring stuff is just so free. More Rabble. My opponent now gets 3 of those. These do have to attack, so that's the upside for me. They will be big. Ember Cleave is a thing that exists. So I'm going to block. I'm just going to die to Ember Cleave, right? So my opponent, I am effectively at 8 life. My opponent, well, it'll be a little different than that. So my opponent will trample through me for a bunch of damage. I think I'm just going to hope that they miss it. If they give me priority, I'm just going to pass priority and not save my Flicker Wisp. Fuck. Yeah, that'll do. GG. So extra early game removal is fine. Ability to sweep tokens from the field is fine. I probably mostly want to play a mono white deck here. I will probably end up boarding out as many of these blue cards as I can. I don't know that I get all of these because my stuff over here isn't really the best. Hydroblast, that's fine. I think I have to keep 2 blue cards. Gilded Drake is very high variance. It's a little hard to name correctly with Meddling Mage. I'm going to take it and probably end up directing my energy there towards the One Ring. Since I don't have anything like Spirit of the Labyrinth or Orcish Bowmasters that is punishing the card draw. This is not great. I can keep this effectively 6-card hand and go after a piece of artifact mana that my opponent plays out. I'll have both of my colors. My cards are very mid here, though. I don't think this has a solid plan to win. Yikes. This is presumably a fine matchup, but if we start both games on 5, we are clawing back. Sure. I am probably just going to throw back my slower cards here. It's possible that Skyclave is just better than Thalia. Thalia does some neat things versus artifact mana, though. We'll just start on a basic plains and pass the turn. I am intending on playing Thalia prior to Stoneforge Mystic, unless something changes. Cool. Yeah, we're going to stay the course. I'm just going to play Thalia at the end of my opponent's turn. And then I can attack with Thalia, blinking Stoneforge immediately. That's a Spirit Guide. And a Goblin Rabble Master. Sure. You may make your token. I'm going to fetch 2 copies of Basic Plains here. I have very few blue cards in my deck right now. And I think being able to play 2 white cards is potentially quite important. Ooh. Now things have changed. I wasn't willing to path that and give my opponent the extra mana right after they used a Spirit Guide. But this is fine. Now I will attack with Thalia and blink my mom for a +1/+1 counter. And the individual +1/+1 counters matter a lot. If my opponent is playing any red removal, the Shatterskull Smashings, Lightning Bolts, Furies of the world, getting a couple counters on this is absolutely relevant. Alright, Shatterskull. This is my opponent's big chance to remove mom. Broadside, there needs to be a piece of artifact mana to go with that. And there is. Just little things in terms of sequencing. I think you attack first. I don't think it matters here. Yep. Love that for me. So I'm going to play a Stoneforge. Trigger. Yes. Rewar Formal Wear for Mom is interesting. I'm gonna take that. Go to Punchies. Back with the dog. Target Stoneforge. 14. Now Stoneforge comes back. I get my +1/+1 counter. We'll say yes. I'll now pick up a Cauldra. So now I have something reasonable to do if my opponent exiles Stoneforge. I have something reasonable to do if my opponent kills Stoneforge. And I have something reasonable to do if it lives as well. Rabblemaster. I absolutely don't care about that. Fetch. I don't need a third basic land. This can be a Tundra. We'll take out Broadside now. My opponent can create a token that will go directly to the graveyard. Goodbye. Alright, cool. So, bam. Activate Stoneforge Mystic. Put in Cauldra Complete. Go to Punchies. Declare Punchies. Belia blinks Stoneforge Mystic. My opponent will take 9 total damage here. Going to 5. And then Stoneforge Mystic can pick up Assimilation Aegis for the next turn. Alright, the One Ring buys a turn. My opponent makes their thing. They can attack in with Rabblemaster too. That is safe to do. This block is fine. Fetch. I'll surveil here. That's like fine. Then that lets me activate Stoneforge Mystic for Assimilation Aegis while also casting War Formalware. So, bam. Fetch. Oh, excuse me. This exiles creatures only. So, bam. Get back Mother of Runes. If I'm willing to activate Assimilation Aegis right now, I can blink something with Thalia, and get Lion Sash. I think Broadside at instant speed is just scarier, so I'm gonna hold up the mana. Sorry, Broadside, flinging stuff at my face at instant speed. I think I said that poorly. My opponent goes down to 4, draws some cards. I think this is the first Ancient Tomb that we've seen. It is a new One Ring. That buys my opponent another turn. Draw your cards. And then this whole combat thing is going to happen again. We're not going to play out Assimilation Aegis right now. We just don't need to. Again, Broadside is probably the only thing that's potentially scary. Or the Wild Winota. Alright, my opponent is tapping Ancient Tomb, which does not cost them life because of the One Ring trigger, to play Chalice of the Void. That's all fine. So I will put a Yorion into my hand for the future. Do I need to / want to rip the counter off of that Chalice of the Void? It doesn't really seem relevant. I'd rather just leave the extra bodies back. It takes a bunch of hasty damage to kill me here, especially through Assimilation Aegis. Yep. So now any single one of my creatures connecting is lethal, including a Goblin Rabblemaster token if I end up equipping this somewhere. My opponent's been playing pretty slowly this game. If they don't think they have it, they need to concede and save time for the next game. My tools here are fine. I'm going to say this is okay. My Kingdom, for a reasonable opening hand, this is quite bad. My 80-card deck is very good at drawing Cauldra naturally. This is fine. This ends up going somewhere. I assume that I need Thalia plus Vial plus Recruiter. I probably keep all 3 lands and get rid of Meddling Mage here, despite the fact that the One Ring is a problem. Just a land and pass for my opponent, which means that I don't get to Wasteland this turn. I really wanted to Wasteland. So it goes. Hopefully I can just Wasteland next turn. My opponent accelerates out a 3-drop or a Stoneforge Mystic. I might not be able to do that. Surveil land's fine. I think it's better to play out Aether Vial than to play the game of will they, won't they fetch the Surveil land. Realmbox, Magus, and a Goblin Rabblemaster. Sure. I will take a hit here. I am at 18. I think I am using a Flash Thalia to kill Goblin Rabblemaster most of the time here. Off another basic land. I've been talking about Winota since game 1, turn 2. If that's something that actually happens here, I could die. So we'll see how my opponent plays this out. They are just going in. Oh, they have Embercleave. That's unfortunate. This double strike and trample, meaning that my Felia would not live if I blocked. Just taking 11. Like, I Lauren and I answer that. But this is a lot of damage. It means that a broadside is incredibly harmful from here. Ooh, that's not good yet, but it sure will be. So, land. You're not indestructible or any bullshit, are you? Cool. Land, Lauren. Lauren, blow up Embercleave. Go to Punchies. Punchies with Felia. Felia, target Lauren. Lauren, blow up Chrome Mox. And then I have Lauren to block Rabble Master, taking 2 on the turn. And then if I make it one more turn, Wasteland plus Recruiter almost certainly just wins the game on the spot. But my opponent can do something powerful this turn. They don't need to do a lot. Something like a broadside just wins the game on the spot. Touch the Spirit Realm. Sucks. That is incredibly disappointing, because that is lethal. The turn before I stabilize. Stay Livy. GG's. I just want hands that have lands. I don't really want to keep this. It's so hard for this hand to be good. Like, for the hand to be good, I basically need a called shot on Meddling Mage that wins the matchup. Gilded Drake is, like, very unlikely to be good versus unknown opponent. Yeah, I'm gonna throw that back. This isn't very good either. I'm going to keep it. I'll throw back the blue card that I can't cast. But I'm very unhappy with this hand. Like, if my opponent is not playing a creature deck, 3 of the cards in my hand are fully just dead. Okay. So we are very likely to just see something like the One Ring come down immediately and wreck my shit. Yeah. Okay, it's Mystic Forge. That one is a little slower to take off, but we'll probably do some serious work over the next couple of turns. You're maybe good in a turn if I draw another mana source. That is an if. Send in for 5. I have my own problem card in play, but I'm kind of all in here. And the scarier my opponent's top end is, the worse this looks. Because if my opponent ends up going up to, well, that I can answer. So I will Swords that in response. Anyway, if my opponent ends up going to like Ugin levels of mana, then what I'm doing here is just frankly not strong enough. It's another Glaring Fleshraker. I guess it's good that I had 3 removal spells. I probably keep Witch Enchanter here. Goodbye, Glaring Fleshraker number 2. But my opponent did get 2 bonus mana this turn out of those Fleshrakers, which is absolutely relevant. Oh, we're still going. Sure. Now my opponent can just untap the Manifold Key, end up with 5 mana, and do something like the One Ring. Another Grim Monolith. Now we're up to 6 mana. Yeah. Storm count of 9. Hopefully there's no keys. Defense grid, that's fine. So I missed on my land, so I can't Witch Enchanter Mystic Forge. That's super unfortunate. I could get an Assimilation Aegis. I could get a Lion's Sash. Guess I am always playing this. I have 5, 6, 7 damage next turn. No damage this turn. Am I Witch Enchantering in a land and then being able to play out a Lion's Sash? Yeah. That does not feel good, but I think the One Ring is going to provide enough card advantage that this is just a disaster. So the Lion's Sash can currently eat 2 things out of graveyard. I'm not presenting lethal. Maybe if my opponent goes too wild with Mystic Forge and Ancient Tomb, I could, but I find that somewhat unlikely. Mana. Cards. And note here that as my opponent starts to draw cards with the One Ring and exile cards with Mystic Forge, they're going to get new looks at things that they can just play off of the top of their library. And the One Ring is going to get untapped a handful of times with Manifold Key. At this point, I'm going to give you highlights rather than just list the name of every piece of artifact mana that my opponent plays out. All right, we have hit a Karn the Great Creator, which certainly should lead to a win somehow. Paradox Engine. I'm not gonna sit through this. Okay, yeah. They kill me somehow this turn. Wrath of the Skies in, colorless counterspell in. I probably play Path to Exile for Glaring Fleshraker, despite the fact that it's bad versus a lot of other stuff. Yeah, I interacted with 2 Glaring Fleshrakers, and it was just not enough to stop what my opponent was doing. I have some respectable cards here. We're probably going to get rid of all of our Mother of Runes. My opponent's a colorless deck. There's some things like Dismember that are relevant. I think I'm just going to ignore that. I can probably cut Lion Sash here. That technically gets me to where I need to be. I still have a bunch of pretty bad cards in my deck, though. This has no plan. This is banking heavily on Wasteland being good. I'm going to keep this. I think Recruiter and Felia are potentially the important things here. I'm going to keep Solitude as the oh shit emergency button, despite the fact that I would love blinking a Stoneforge Mystic. And I can play a Surveil land this turn. City. Grim Monolith. Uh-huh. This is just faster than what the interaction in my deck is capable of dealing with. So I can choose to wasteland my opponent's City of Traders to try to keep them off of mana, but the One Ring mana, or sorry, the One Ring cards are probably going to bury me. I fully just expect that I have lost this game already. I'm going to say no to that. This is a gamble. This either does everything or nothing with very little in between. 19. So many cards. Tower. Key. Not great. Thanks, I hate it. I have to try to keep my opponent off of 4 mana. Maybe any mana, but like the One Ring just makes all of these 1-for-1 trades awful. I just don't really have a way to win this. I don't have my Stony Silence or my Null Rod or equivalent. So I can try to keep them off balance for a little while, but they're going to be getting greater than an ancestral amount of value every turn. They have 13 cards in hand. Well, they're discarding a lot of cards. I guess that's good. Yeah, my opponent just discarded a whole bunch of lands. Yeah, so I'll play Ophelia, and hopefully my opponent dies to their One Ring. Right? They'll just die. They won't find another. Right? Note that now that my opponent has started a turn with a single land untapped, Manifold Key is online. They also just have 4 mana off 2 lands. Yep. I think I'm getting... Oh, cool. My opponent didn't put a spell on the stack immediately. Get rid of Witch Enchanter here. That was just a misstep on their end. They miss a... Hello? Fine, we'll do it in the other order. Oh, nope. Weird lag burst. Anyway, that was a misstep on their end. If they were going to cast another colorless spell, they could have done this first. Grim Monolith. There's still 10 cards in hand, though. Life's bad. New Monolith? Okay. I mean, I will play my dog, and then I'll F6. Whatever you can do to me from here is happening. Dismember? Dismember, sure. Wow, what a draw. That was what I was probably going to tutor for. So that was incredibly lucky. As much as I would love for my opponent to take 5 damage for their One Ring, I don't think I can let them draw that many cards. Unfortunately, they're probably just going to have another one or a Mystic Forge. But we will take game actions as we can. My opponent could just cast an Ugin off of 3 lands. On an untaps, a Grim Monolith does Karn. Karn can get Paradox Engine or something else. Mystic Forge, One Ring, take your pick. Lattice. Okay. So that's bad. I will attack down that Karn. These lands obviously don't work anymore. So now all that my opponent needs to do to win this game is plus a Karn. That's it. That'll do too. GG. Awful matchup. Okay, we have a reasonable opening hand here. I am going to get basic planes. That means that I don't have blue-blue for Harbinger of the Seas in the short term, but I really don't want to be wastelanded in these first couple of turns. Shatter Skull. Mox Opal. Cool. Are we just gonna die on turn 1? Rite of Flame. Simian Spirit Guide to exile. Okay, we are not dead on turn 1. A bunch of shit goes to exile, though, including a gamble, which is a problem. Yeah, I don't really interact meaningfully here. I will put a Lion Sash to my hand, and I'll absolutely attack. But my hand won't be here in a minute. Here we go. Lotus Petal. LED has been sacked. The Monolith to play. Now my opponent can gamble and discard Echo of Eons with 100% accuracy. Now they can tap that Grim Monolith and do this with 1 floating. My hand is big, stinky poo-poo. No other way to put it. Like, everything that is here is creature focused other than Recruiter of the Guard. Don't have something to put in with Stoneforge. Even if my opponent doesn't combo off, the best thing that I can do is attack for 2. Ancient Tomb. Lots of mana. Colored mana could be a bottleneck, I guess. New Monolith. Now my opponent has played Harnfell, so every card in hand can turn into other stuff. Oh, it's the Hellkite. I haven't seen that in a hot minute. This is a very expensive alternative to Echo of Eons. I'm going to give you the highlights from here. Let's see if my opponent can do something broken. Alright, we're going to do another draw 7. Cool. My hand actually got worse. Alright, a few Harnfell activations later, we have a Burning Wish going on the stack. My opponent has found Tendrils and has the 4 mana to cast it. Cool. Concede. Alright, Consign, Fluster, Hydroblast, I guess Leylines, I guess Wrath of the Skies. The Swords to Plowshares type cards are pretty bad. Gilded Drakes are awful. I'll need 3 more cuts from there, probably just Solitudes. Yes, I'll keep Assimilation Aegis in the deck in case there's some bizarro sideboard pivot creature. It's not like hardcasting Solitude is going to come up very much. This has no interaction versus combo. This is not a good hand, but it has a piece of interaction, so I will keep it. I will get rid of a Flicker Wisp here. So if my opponent is doing an Echo of Eons baseline with their hand, Leyline stops that. If they aren't, I have no ability to interact with them until turn 3. I think I'm going to get Mom online on turn 1. And then intend on doing tapped Surveil Land on turn 2. Alright, my opponent went into the tank for a really long time, but they just played a land and passed. So, Archive, just looking for anything that is interaction versus combo. That's not it. Oh yeah. Note that my opponent already had a chance to remove Mom on their turn, and they did not take it, so unlikely that Mom is leaving play if I make that attack. Okay, my opponent is just passing again. I'm gonna go for my potential free win here and try to shut off my opponent's mana. Now I'm not attacking with Mother of Runes. Sort of luckily, I also have a second basic plains here, so I will be able to cast my white cards. And I have a Yorion that I can put into hand as well. Red mana is online. Mox Opal is online. Oh, that's a pretty sad Galvanic Relay. But you gotta do what you gotta do. Sure, so my opponent can end up with a Burgie. Alright. That's an answer to a Burgie. I'll put that Yorion into my hand. We'll stay protecting Harbinger of the Seas. I have a Flusterstorm available. Or something juicy that ends up going on the stack. Basic Island from my opponent. There's a Burgie. Now there's a second one in exile, so I do have to decide whether or not I'm just trying to take this out immediately. If I take it out, my opponent can just play another. I might be waiting. Galvanic Relay only allows him to play that card until end of turn. I think I am not responding here. Burning Wish. Opponent has 3 mana available. Storm count is 3. It seems fine to just stop that. I'm not going to lie to you. The Flusterstorm UI on Magic Online is awful. So I think I am just going to counter that there rather than trying to have to click through Flusterstorm on Magic Online. That's fine. Might mean that my opponent gets a Harnfell. I'm good with this. Yeah, we're chilling. Nice, and I drew a land. So drawing the land means that I just get to hardcast that, and I don't give up the Yorion. That means I can answer the next Burgie as well. I'm going to continue to hold back, Mom. 18. Harnfell. Those cards aren't super good. I will obviously play their basic island. Oh wow, that is getting something imprinted on it. Are we at hardcast Echo? We are. This hand's not good. I mean, this is probably better than just Yorion, but these sure aren't anti-combo cards. These aren't, my Meddling Mages. Okay, cool. Felia does stuff. But without thinking too much about it, we can attack for 5. Bring my opponent to 13. We can play a Stoneforge Mystic. Getting, I guess, Cauldra. The Lion Sash isn't doing much if Leyline's in play. And then I'm going to leave up the ability to cast Felia, I believe. I can also just hard cast a Cauldra next turn, in theory. So I have 2 soft hate cards here. My opponent has 7 cards in hand, plus Harnfell. I fully expect to lose the game this turn. This is the equivalent of my opponent having 16 cards. It's not literally like that, but it's pretty similar. Yep, I don't get to interact with that. So Graveyard is online now. So Echoes are online. Harnfell is going to get my opponent the ability to dig pretty deep. Or Harnfell. Batterskull Smashings are castable, I guess. But opponent's just going to keep digging for other things. They haven't hit any payoff card yet, which is great for me. Here we go. Romox. So this is currently the problem. So there's the Echo. I can decide whether or not I'm casting Felia. Felia is potentially blinking a Harnfell. The white mana doesn't do a ton, even in post-sideboard game. Blue mana does. There are times where I could draw multiple Flusterstorms over the remainder of this turn, and I need the extra mana. This also builds Storm Count. I think I'm just going to not cast this. That's no relevant cards. So now that my opponent has refilled, Harnfell is online again. We are luckily playing towards a timeout. We've got that going for us. That's a wish. That should just duck and do it. Rite of Flame. Rite of Flame. And you do get the bonus mana there when you start playing multiple copies of them. LED. That solves the black mana problem. There's at least 7 mana. Opponent's got it. Opponent is casting a Shatterskull Smashing. I guess I will protect my mom. Alright, there's the wish. Oh, instead of just winning the game, they would like to attempt to time themselves out. That should have just been a deterministic win there. I have decided to show off Runehorn Hellkite. Going to lose my mind. Shatterskull Smashing, sure. Hyacinth Gardens on an LED. So now my opponent can sack, do this. It's 7 mana for this. Oh, it's 6 mana for this, so they can keep a Lotus Petal. Oh, sorry, they did wish for the Tendrils earlier. They just wanted to build up my frustration level before doing it. Okay. GG. I am losing my mind with these opening hands. This is 3 copies of Solitude, which I don't want in a vacuum. This is a Meddling Mage that I can't cast on turn 2. I would have to Aether Violet in. This is very frustrating. There's no game plan to win here. I'm going to mulligan this. This is a reasonable looking 6. I am fine with this. What would be the best way to end this league? Oops, all spells. My body is ready. That should have been a fetch with Marsh Flats, by the way. Then I leave myself the option to get Island next turn. I don't think I'm going to do, but I did not leave myself the option. So what kind of basic Swamp Gamer is my opponent here? Probably not Reanimator, if they did not take my Lion Sash immediately. I'm just going to get that in play off a basic, I think. Despite the fact that I just drew Assimilation Aegis. I think it's more important to be Wasteland proof in case this is a Delver deck. Or a Pox deck or whatever. Goldred's Edict. I mean, at least it's not a Bowmaster that also left a body on board. This is bad. I am down a card from a mulligan. My opponent took my best card beyond that. I'm now left with removal spells that don't currently have a target and a Flicker Wisp that doesn't currently have a target. My X1 Flicker Wisp also potentially lines up poorly versus Bowmasters, which will probably be in my opponent's deck. I'm just going to see if they respond to this. Nope. File will go up to 3 since I do have a Flicker Wisp. Boy, that's awkward. I think I'm just doing this, despite the fact that my opponent is a Thoughtseize deck. So we'll see a Surveil land at end of turn in all likelihood. Yup. Oh, my opponent junks a Bowmasters. I am just going to take one of their lands out of play for a turn here. I don't want them to like hard cast a Kaito, for example, right now. Taking them off blue also potentially keeps something like Murktide out of play. Ah, it was another Bowmasters. Joy. Sure. I want to get their island back. I guess we're going to 5 for Yorion. Okay. Please don't brainstorm. Cool. Please don't daze. Cool. This is just pre-war formal wear, not Caldra. This will be a very good pre-war formal wear, assuming that my spells continue to resolve. Okay. I don't believe that I get to block here. I don't think I can risk... Well, maybe I can risk another Bowmaster killing Stoneforge if I just have pre-war formal wear. But I get so much more Yorion value if I just put in pre-war formal wear and then blink Stoneforge and pre-war formal wear. Yep, I'm going to say no blocks. Alright, if you have Kaito, do your thing. No Kaito. Basic Plains, Hardcast Force of Will is online. That is a Hardcast Kaito. Alright, my opponent is going to Surveil. Cool. I think I'm good with that. So this goes up to 5. Ooh. Okay. So let's go bam and bam, activate Stoneforge Mystic, put in pre-war formal wear. Pre-war formal wear is going to enter and give me a Lion Sash? No, and give me a Flicker Wisp. Yes, and give me a Flicker Wisp. When Flicker Wisp enters, Flicker Wisp is going to blink pre-war formal wear. I'll activate this. Yorion. Oh, I'm not getting an extra thing here. I could have blinked out this token. Okay, my opponent's just done with me. Yeah, so the correct line there was Flicker Wisp, blink out the Orc, then Yorion, blink out this, consider blinking that. Flicker Wisp flickers out Kaito for a turn cycle, pre-war formal wear, returns Lion Sash. And then I can Wasteland if I want. This is closer to the sort of stuff that I would like to be playing against. Gilded Drakes are weird here. There are some things that I really want to steal, but a lot of the stuff my opponent has I just don't care about taking. I don't really know that I'm sideboarding much. I don't love these Gilded Drakes. Lauren's not really great. That's just Orcish Bowmaster's bait. I'm going to get rid of that immediately. I guess like paths and flusters are things that I can do. Like if my opponent has Goyfs, these are perfectly fine to take them. Maybe I was about to say maybe I'll leave one as a tutor target, but they're X3s, so Recruiter of the Guard doesn't find those. Let's call this good. This is fine. I'm perfectly happy with this. I have a Swords to Plowshares for something like an early Tamiyo. I have a Stoneforge as a proactive threat and a pre-war formal wear. Oh, opponent's going to 5. Maybe we have a chance to win a game. Anyway, and a pre-war formal wear to help bring back a Stoneforge that gets discarded or countered. So my opponent has kept on 5. This Wasteland is going to be very good. Without knowing my opponent's remaining cards, it is very hard for me to tell what they should take with the Thoughtseize. The pre-war formal wear is probably the strongest card in hand, though. After my opponent has mulliganed this much, I'm absolutely just going to take their land here. And then hope that I can untap with a Mom. An Inquisition as a follow-up. These 1-for-1s are not all that favorable for my opponent. Land Bowmasters is the sort of thing that my opponent needs here to catch up. That's not doing it. Yeah, I I would probably concede in that spot as well. So we put up 1 win on the board today. All those combo matches were really rough. All right. Overall thoughts on the deck list here. I don't like it. I don't really like Gilded Drake as a Magic the Gathering card. This is something that sometimes sees play in Legacy in really dirtily slow, like Esper Vial style decks. It is very neat when you can start blinking it and taking your opponent's best creatures, but when you get paired against things like combo decks, this is just really not where you want to be. I think on paper this deck looks perfectly reasonable. Like if you sub the Gilded Drakes for 4 other cards that are relevant in the metagame, like you have a reasonable looking pile of cards, but the differential in the D&T matchups right now are just so massive. I feel like a dog to combo, even with a sideboard that, generally speaking, most of this is pointed directly at combo decks. Hydroblast has some overlap versus Red Prison, but like the D&T sideboard tends to be pretty close to 15 cards for combo. And even with some Meddling Mages in the main deck here, I did not feel good versus combo. I will say I think we had pretty bad variance in terms of opening hands today. I felt like my opening hands were particularly bad. I am not one to quickly say, we lost because of luck. But our opening hands were really stinkers. We went to 5 quite a few times, and I wasn't being very picky on 7s. I just wanted to have 2 or 3 lands and castable spells, and that was not happening very often. I think if I was wanting to play fair in Legacy right now, I would not be looking towards Death and Taxes. I would be looking towards some deck with an Ancient Tomb in it. Just go a little bit faster than what this deck is capable of. The Nadu matchup felt bad. The Artifact combo matchup felt bad. The Storm matchup, not particularly good either. I think that's a sign that maybe we'll let this one sit on the shelf. I think that's all I've got for you today. I hope watching me get bullied was still fun and entertaining, and maybe you learned a few things on the way. And I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the day. See ya!